All right. Get your mouth loosened up. All right, and we are live in 3, 2. YouTube, what's going on? Today I bring you the second and third rounds to my 5th official NFL mock draft for the 2021 draft. And let's hop straight in. My voice is already starting off raspy, so that's great. First pick, we got the Jaguars, who in the first round took Trevor Lawrence and Jalen Mayfield. And so here, I think the best case scenario is to go with the cornerback, just being that this is not the best cornerback class by any means. And so if you're going to get a guy to go across from CJ Henderson, which they need pretty badly, might as well get one here. And looking at the guys available, it's really between Tyson Campbell or Asante Samuel for me. But just looking at the type of defense that the Jaguars like to run, and the guy I just think fits better overall, I think is definitely Tyson Campbell. The dude's been great for Georgia this year. Very strong corner, pretty athletic as well. And again, I just think they need to get a guy from across CJ Henderson badly. So then the Jets with the 34th pick. And the Jets, I think it's the same case scenario for them, except they took a corner earlier in Eric Stokes. So that kind of eliminates that need for them. I think here they should get some receiver help for Sam Darnold, or in this case, Zach Wilson, since that's who they took in the first round, apart from Eric Stokes. And looking at the guys available, although I love the fit of Amon-Ra St. Brown, since he's so speedy, and I think that'd be great with Wilson's cannon arm, they do have some nice speedy guys over there. You know who they don't have? That big, strong, contested catcher, and that's Rashad Bateman right there. He has a few drop issues. However, aside from that, the dude would easily be a first-round pick. He's fallen a bit in my draft rankings, but he is still a good receiver. He can definitely be good, and I think he's a good pick here. So then the Dolphins at 35. And the Dolphins, I think, either need to go with a linebacker or some offensive line help here. And there's a great linebacker on the board in Dylan Moses. I mean, he'd make that defense great. But there are 3 really good tackles sitting on the board. It's a little too high for Dylan Redunz for me, but Liam Eichenberg and Alex Leatherwoods are guys that very well could go in the first round. So being that there's 2 great tackles here, I'm going to go with one of these tackles. And in this mock draft, they keep Tua. I know a lot of people want them to trade for Deshaun Watson, but since Tua came from Alabama and you've got Alex Leatherwood right here, we're going to pick up Alex Leatherwood. He's a fantastic tackle. Again, a guy that's gone in the first round before for me. Very well could go in the first round this year, especially with a good combine, although we're not sure what that's going to look like right now. But still a great tackle, very strong, great in the run game. You can flip Austin Jackson out to right tackle, since I like Leatherwood at left tackle better. Jackson's very versatile, so that would work fine, and adds a great piece to your offensive line. Then the Falcons with the 36th pick, and in the first round they took Justin Fields. And so looking at it here, they could go edge, or another team that could go linebacker. Again, Dylan Moses would be great for them. However, I'm going to go with running back here, just because, Todd Gurley is not the future. I don't like Ito Smith that much, or I don't know if it's Ito Smith, but I don't like him that much. Javonte Williams has been really solid for North Carolina. He's a bit of a smaller guy, I'm pretty sure, unless I'm thinking about Michael Carter. But one of them is a smaller guy, and one of them is a bigger guy. Regardless, Javonte Williams has been the better running back, though. I just know that much. Regardless of whether he's the smaller or the bigger guy, he does bring a nice physicality to his game. Also great in the catching and running type of game. I think it's a good pick here. And again, Todd Gurley is just not the future. He was god awful the second half of the year. Never thought he was going to be good there. So I think get a nice running back here. Then the Bengals at 37. And the Bengals have a few different places they can go. There's a nice corner here, and I've talked about how they kind of need a corner. I don't really want to go with a receiver, because I feel like if they're going to go with a receiver, you want to go with that true number 1 guy, kind of like a Jamar Chase, but obviously he's not here at this point. So I think the best situation is to get another offensive lineman just to protect Joe Burrow and even some more. They got Penei Sewell in the first round, so that fills out their tackle spots. They've got a nice center in Trey Hopkins. And Quinton Spain's been fine at right guard, but he's getting older, obviously, and they don't really have a good left guard. And a guy who can play either side of the guard for them is Wyatt Davis. I always thought he was majorly overrated. People had him going as like a top 15 pick, and so did I. But that's just really because, if I put him any lower, people would get mad. But finally, people started to recognize he's not as good as everyone was saying. He has some issues that can definitely be fixed in the NFL. But overall, he is still definitely the best guard at this point in the draft. I think Eichenberg's the better pick, or the better player. But again, they already have their tackle positions filled out with Sewell and Jonah Williams. So I think this is the best pick here. Then the Eagles, and in the first round, they went with Jalen Waddle. And so here, I think they have to go corner, get some help there. And there's a great guy here in Asante Samuel, who's been great for Florida State this year. One of their only good players, honestly. The dude's very fast. He's very nifty. He breaks up passes very well. Great in the deep game as well as playing underneath. Loves to get physical in the run game for his not above average size. But overall, I like him as a corner prospect, and I think he fits well with the Eagles. Then the Lions at 39, and the Lions, I think, they took Devontae Smith in the first round. So here I think it's important to get some pass rush, and a guy I really like on the Lions would be Christian Barmore. They don't really have that true defensive tackle that Christian Barmore is, and he really even can play defensive end since Everson Griffin has not worked out in Detroit either. And I forget his name, but Romeo Okwara, that's his name, was really good this year. I mean, he took a huge leap, obviously. If you're a Lions fan, you've seen him play. But even if he stays at that level, he still definitely needs some help back there, and I think Christian Barmore would be a great fit on the Lions. Then the Panthers at 40, and they took Trey Lance in the first round. This is a really easy pick for me. Even though Taylor Moton might be gone and Eichenberg would be a great replacement, you guys need that true number one linebacker that Shaq Thompson isn't, and Dylan Moses is. Besides the injury concerns, this guy would be a first-round pick so easily. We could see 5 first-round linebackers, because realistically, this guy could go to the Saints or the Packers or the Chiefs. Because again, besides injury issues, this dude is so physically just freaky. He's fast. He's strong. I mean, he's another great linebacker in this class, and only drops a bit because of his injuries. Otherwise, I think this would be a great pick for the Panthers, who get a great player on defense. Then the Broncos at 41. The Broncos went with Micah Parsons in the first round. And here, I could maybe see a safety, but I don't really know. I don't think Trevon Moehrig really fits in their scheme. Looking at the corners, I think it's a little too high to take any of these guys. These are more late second to third rounders for me. The Broncos are a team that needs a running back, actually, because Melvin Gordon might be suspended and Phillip Lindsay might not be there. However, it's too high for any of these guys. Trey Sermon I have higher than 99, but not a high second round. So I feel like the pick is either going to be edge or some offensive line help, but their offensive line really hasn't been that bad. And looking at the guys available on defense, though, they're kind of in a tough position here because they have some great defensive ends. If they're somehow able to keep Shelby Harris, that'd be nice, obviously. But I don't know, maybe they'll hang on to Jarrell Casey, and then they have Jarrell Casey and Draymond Jones. And sure, they can get depth, but you're obviously wanting to go for a player who is actually going to make an impact here. So they're kind of in a tough situation. However, if you're going to go with anyone here, even if he's depth, or heck, he might even start, because realistically they could have neither Jarrell Casey and Shelby Harris next year. Jalen Phillips is still a very physically freaky edge from Miami. One of my favorite prospects. I think the dude has a ton of potential in the NFL. Even if he sits for a year or two, if they do keep Jarrell Casey or Shelby Harris, which I don't really see them keeping Harris, unfortunately, in a year or two, this dude could be a freaky starter for the Broncos, and he could be really good. Then the Cowboys at 42, and the Cowboys for me are another player that really has to go edge or defensive line. They just need help there so badly, and I like some of these guys, but I think it's a little too high for them. They're more of late second rounders for me. However, a guy I would really like to the Cowboys, and I think fits really nicely, is Jason Oweh from Penn State. Obviously, the Cowboys run a 4-3 defense, and I think he fits perfectly as a 4-3 defensive end. I think he would thrive there. I think he's a good fit for the Cowboys. He's also just very nice from Penn State. He finesses you so easily. I think it's a good pick here. Then the Giants with the 43rd pick. And the Giants really, I mean, they went with Kyle Pitts in the first round, which gave them a really good receiving threat. So here it's got to be a defensive player as well for me. And looking at the guys available, I like these linebackers, but again, I think it's a little too high for any of them. So I'm probably going to go with an edge player here. And looking at the guys available, the only guy I can realistically see them taking here is Jordan Smith, and I think it's a little too high for him. So they're probably going to want to go with like a defensive lineman here. Obviously Leonard Williams was great this year. Dalvin Tomlinson was very underrated most of the year. There are guys they can go here, but a lot of these guys are like more tackles than anything, and they need like a defensive end. So although it's a reach, I think the best pick in this situation is going to be Jordan Smith. I think he should be higher than like the 74 they had him at or whatever. But again, I think this is a reach, but I think it's the best pick for the Giants just because they need like a true defensive end across from Leonard Williams. And just looking at the rest of the guys available at this point, I see corner here, but again, I think it's a little too high for any of these guys. They got a receiving threat in the first round. Maybe they go offensive line, but that's just the pick I see here. Then the 49ers, and the 49ers here, they need a quarterback, but it's too high for Kyle Trask, in my opinion. He's kind of fallen down. I mean, obviously he was great this year. He's just got a lot of issues he needs to work out. Maybe I can see him in the late second round or something, but so quarterback is definitely not the pick here. I think the pick definitely has to be an inside offensive lineman because I've said this before many times. Your guys' inside offensive linemen just suck. The center, he's not that bad. I think it's like Ben Garland is the center. He's not bad. But looking at the guards, they're just so bad. I mean, ever since Super Bowl 54 where they just got exposed, I hate to say it, but they got exposed. They've just played at such a poor level that it'd be great to get a guard here. And a guard I really like is Landon Dickerson. He's another guy that if not for injuries, I believe would be a first rounder. He's very talented, obviously, very big team player, just tough as a rock. It was great to see him out there on those final snaps for Alabama. That was really cool. But again, I think he's a player that, if not for injuries, would be a first rounder. But I don't think that the injuries are going to follow him. It was majorly just one ACL tear. So yeah, that's it. But I think it's a really good value pick here, and it's just a position you guys need help at badly. Then the Chargers, and the Chargers, it's kind of the same story for them. They just need offensive line help overall, and that's really one of the last holes on their team. Because, I mean, they took Christian Darrisaw with the first pick. They've got Brian Bulaga at the right tackle, Mike Pouncey at center, and Trey Turner was a good guard, but God, he just fell off a cliff this year. And left guard, I think, is Forrest Lamp, and he's not that good. So I think I want to go with guard here as well. And the unfortunate thing is that out of the two guards available, or the two inside offensive linemen, these are both centers. And center is not a big need. And I see both these guys as centers in the NFL. The one center here I don't see as a center is Josh Myers. However, I think it's way too high for him. So that's unfortunately not where we're gonna be able to go. Where I think we could go though is linebacker. Because the Chargers defense is now going to be 3-4 with the hiring of Brandon Staley, which I personally think is going to push them into that contender status again. So they're going to be scary next year. But I truly believe that they're probably going to keep, their 3-4 scheme is probably going to look like a Kenneth Murray on like the outside linebacker, Joey Bosa and Nwosu in the middle with, I forget the tackle's name, but the tackle right between them, and he's a really good tackle. But they don't have they have some linebackers now, but they don't really have like that 3-4 outside guy. And a 3-4 outside guy that's really good is Hamilcar Rashed. I think he'd be great across from Kenneth Murray, who's really, he was a great pass rusher last year when they used him like that. And I think that's where he's going to go, is like that outside linebacker. But again, they don't have that guy to pair across from him, which is why I think Hamilcar Rashed would be great pairing. And, he's been really solid for Oregon State, so I like the pick. Then the Jaguars at 46. So far, they've gone with Tyson Campbell, Trevor Lawrence, and Jalen Mayfield. And here, it's really two picks for me. It's either Trevon Moehrig or Pat Freiermuth. And looking at the guys available, you guys already have some nice receiving threats in DJ Chark, D.D. Westbrook. Tyler Eifert isn't horrible. He's just not the best, and he's aging. But I still think Trevon Moehrig is going to be the best pick at the end of the day. He's been really impressive from TCU. I don't think he's the first rounder that some people have him as, but he is still a very nice, solid safety. You guys don't really have any safeties. So, they're focusing a lot on the secondary here, but it needs a lot of help, and you get another good player in Moehrig. Then the Patriots at 47, they went with JOK in the first round, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and it's either a receiver or a tight end here. They just need receiving threats pretty badly, and I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think Rondale Moore would be a fantastic fit with the Patriots, but I just like Pat Freiermuth a lot more. There's the argument for wide receiver, sure, but Pat Freiermuth is easily the second best tight end in this class to me. He's a guy that most of the time would probably be your best tight end if you didn't have a guy like Kyle Pitts in this draft class. Pat Freiermuth blocks incredibly, great athleticism, also incredible catching. He's been really solid for Penn State, and they get a true tight end because, Dalton Keene, David Asiasi, those guys just haven't been good. So, and I think one of them got hurt. I think it was like Asiasi got hurt for a while, but they still just haven't been good. So Freiermuth is a great tight end. Then the Cardinals, they took J.C. Horn in the first round. And I know you guys want a running back really bad, but I still think it's a little too high for any of these guys. And I don't think Trey Sermon, I can see Trey Sermon going around here, but I don't think he really fits with your guys' team. So the pick here is probably going to be like an edge player or a defensive lineman. And looking at the defense, they've got Chandler Jones. Hassan Reddick has obviously been fantastic. He's really moved into more of like that right outside or that left outside linebacker that is opposite from Chandler Jones. But if you look at their defensive line, Corey Peters is a very nice solid anchor at the tackle position, but they don't really have like a defensive end there. And I think Quincy O'Shea is a great fit with the Cardinals. I think he'd play defensive end and he can play wherever. He's also been very solid for Miami. He is the if you think of a guy like TJ Watt and Bud Dupree, right? Like TJ Watt's the guy that's going to bowl you over and Bud Dupree's the guy that's going to get around you. Quincy O'Shea is kind of like the Bud Dupree to Chandler Jones, TJ Watt, if I can make a comparison. I think it'd be a really nice fit. I think it's a good pick here for the Cardinals. Then the Raiders at 49, and the Raiders, I just feel, again, they have to go defense. And, they took Azeez Ojulari in the first round. That was a great pick. I would love J2 Field here. I think he'd be a really solid tackle for them, which they could use. I wouldn't argue against a linebacker, a guy like Cameron McGrone here, or Jabril Cox. They could also use a corner kind of badly, but I still think it's a little too high for these guys. Safety for sure they could use, but again, I still think it's a little too high, and I don't like Javon Holland that much to the Raiders. So it is going to be a defensive lineman here in J2 Field. He's a guy that I feel can be a really solid just defensive tackle, that power guy. People are very divided on him. I've seen first round grades on him. I've seen fourth round grades on him. So, I have a second round grade on him. I think he's really nice and powerful from USC. The one limitation to him is that he's nothing more than just a tackle, but that's fine because I think that's the best pick in this case scenario because the Raiders don't have that true tackle. So then the Dolphins at 50, and so far they've gone with Jamar Chase, Najee Harris, and earlier Alex Leatherwood. And so here, I think why not get a nice linebacker since they don't really have a guy besides Jerome Baker. And a guy that I really like here is Cameron McGrone. I've kind of come around to him a bit. There were some things I didn't like from Michigan, but I think he has a lot of potential in the NFL. I think he can be really solid, and I think he fits well with the Dolphins scheme as well. So I just think it's a nice pick here. Washington football team, and they went Mac Jones in the first round. And so here, I think they should get some wide receiver help. And I think Amon-Ra St. Brown to the Washington football team would be a great pick. The dude is very speedy, great hands as well. Little undersized, but I don't think that matters too much because, again, his speed just kills corners. And I think it's a good pick here for the Washington football team, who just needs to really focus on offense mostly. Then the Bears at 52, they went with Rashawn Slater in the first round. And, I think here they're probably also going to want to go receiver. And Rondale Moore, I look at him as a guy who he's basically Rashad Bateman without the drop issues, but not as good, if that makes sense. I don't think he's as physical as Rashad Bateman. I don't think he's as strong, not as athletic, but he does not have the drop issues though. And but that doesn't put him above him though. I still think he's a solid receiver overall. I think he'd be a nice fit with Allen Robinson if they keep him. So yeah, I think it's a good pick here. The Colts, they went with Sam Cosmi in the first round to replace Anthony Costanzo, and guess who just retired? Phillip Rivers. So, being that, the Colts now have Jacoby Brissett, who's entering free agency, more than likely, Jacob Eason, a second-year player, and looking at the free agent class and just where they are in the draft, if it's a no-trade mock draft and this is the best position they're going to be in to get a quarterback, since I still think tackle is a necessity over quarterback, I like a guy like Kyle Trask here. Now, obviously, the guy is talented. He was in the Heisman finalist running. He was great all year. I know he had a very bad bowl game, but he was still good. And the reason I like him with the Colts is because Frank Reich isn't battling for his job right now. So, and it's an already very talented Colts team. Now, obviously, the receiving threats aren't the best, but the offensive line is still great for the Colts, which gives Kyle Trask a good offensive line entering the NFL, which helps any rookie quarterback a ton. But again, I think it's a guy that they can take the time to develop and see how he comes. There's obviously talent there, and he can be carried by a good defense and a great offensive line. I think the pick makes sense here. Then the Titans at 54, and they took Joseph Asai in the first round. And so here, I think I'm going to go with defense again in a either a linebacker or a tackle or a defensive end. And looking at the guys available, I don't really like any of these linebackers to them. It's either too much of a reach, or just I think the number one at this point is Jabril Cox, and I don't think he's a good fit with them. So looking at it, if you want to go with defensive end, I think Patrick Jones is maybe the best place to go, although I still think Rashad Weaver is the better player than Jones. I think, he's a better fit, but it's maybe a little too high for him. So it's probably going to be a defensive tackle for them. And a guy I would really like on the Titans is Tommy Togiai. He's been really solid for Ohio State. In some ways, I kind of like Haskell Garrett better, but in other ways, I like Tommy Togiai better. He's been very solid. It's weird because he doesn't, for being a defensive tackle, he can play defensive end as well, and he isn't just the power guy. He can also bring just the speed to his game and stuff, and I think it's a good fit here with the Titans. Then the Seahawks at 55, and the Seahawks with their first pick have to get some edge rush help, some pass rush help just in general. They just have to. And looking at the guys available, these guys are fine, but I see them as more third rounders at this point. So looking at the guys available, if you're going to go with the defensive lineman, the best guy available on the board by far is Davion Nixon. These guys are good as well, but they're more late second rounders for me, or third rounders. And this is the late second round, but I still think they're probably early third rounders. But Davion Nixon, though, I've also seen first round grades on him. Again, I don't think he's that good, but he's been very solid for Iowa. He's definitely the best pass rusher available on the board at this point, so I just think it's the best pick for the Seahawks. Then the Steelers, they went with Travis Etienne in the first round, and I see no other pick here than Liam Eichenberg. The dude's fallen all the way to the bottom of the second round, which is actually pretty realistic, but it's also realistic for him to go as high as the first round. He's a very raw prospect, definitely going to be a bit more of a developmental project. However, he is definitely still the best linemen available at this point, and they're going to need linemen since Villanueva and Feeler probably aren't going to be there next year, and Okafor didn't play that well down the stretch of the season. And so looking at that, I just think this is the best pick easily by a mile here. Then the Rams with their first pick in the draft, and here They could go with a guy like Dylan Reduns since Andrew Whitworth, who knows, he might retire this year. Maybe not. He might come back for yet another year. There's also a really nice linebacker on the board, though, in Jabril Cox, which I've given to the Rams before. I think he would fit really nicely with them. So for me, it's down to those two guys. But at the end of the day, I like the fit of Jabril Cox on the Rams a lot. They don't really have a good linebacker, and having a guy like this would fit very well. Again, I see the argument for a tackle, but I think this is the best pick here. So then the Browns, and in the first round, they took Zaven Collins. And so here, I think corner would probably be the best way to go. They've got Denzel Ward, who's been fantastic. Greedy Williams shows some promise, and Kevin Johnson has been fine. But, they should get like a new, younger guy of the future. And I think Greg Newsome would fit great with this Browns defense. He's obviously been fantastic for Northwestern. One of the main reasons they've been so good, especially their defense. Their defense is so freaking good. And again, he's just been a solid part of that. And the Browns could use like another young, good corner. Except I think this guy will definitely be better than Greedy Williams, but could be as good as Denzel Ward, honestly. Then the Ravens, and the Ravens probably want to go with a receiver or like offensive line here. Looking at the receivers available, I don't really like any of these guys to the Ravens. So it's going to be like an inside offensive lineman for me. And looking at the guys available, however, obviously the top two guys are centers. So if they're going to go with inside offensive line, it's going to be one of these guys. And their center, I believe, did have some big issues because I think their starting center was hurt. But then their backup was like really bad. Like he had a lot of issues. But I think even their starter hasn't been the best. So if you're going to take a guy here, I guess you're going to want to go with Creed Humphrey. And I don't think Trey Smith has to play center, but I think that's probably where he should go. But Creed Humphrey is the best center in my mind. He fell all the way to the 4th round in my last draft, which was pretty insane, but that's just kind of how it fell. But he's been very solid for Oklahoma, a consistent snapper. He just has some blocking issues is all, but he doesn't have any issues snapping the ball at all. And I just think he's a good fit here with the Ravens. Then the Saints, and the Saints, even with Drew Brees retiring, because he is, let's be honest, they have two solid backups. Because I don't think that Jameis Winston's going to go anywhere. He still has something to prove. I don't know what team would really take a bet on him besides like maybe the Colts or something. And even then, they still have Taysom Hill, so I don't think quarterback's the pick, and it's way too high for any of these guys. They already went linebacker and Nick Bolton in the first round, so they can go receiver here. I guess if you're going to go with the guy here, it's probably going to be Nico Collins, but I don't really like him that much. A guy I do like, though, to the Saints, and I've mocked him here before, and it's been the same pick for a while. It's going to stay the same pick. Paulson Adebo, I think it's pretty underrated for Stanford. Really could be a first-round pick if he just got some more attention, honestly. But I think this is a solid place for him to go. I think he's a good corner, and I think he fits with the Saints because, they've had some issues with guys getting over the top of them. I think with a guy like Paulson Adebo, you can put him down further, like down closer to the line, and he's going to take care of that spot where, now you can put guys like Marshawn Lattimore deeper because you have a guy like Adebo to take care of more center, low field. So then the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers, I feel like it's got to be a running back or like a defensive lineman for them, like a defensive end, because Ndamukong Suh is getting older and they don't have a guy across from Vita Vea, like on the other side. So, looking at the guys available, I don't really think any of these guys are like true defensive. Well, I mean, Patrick Jones and Rashad Weaver are obviously, but I still think it's a little too high for them. And I could see Darius Stills here or something. But looking at the running backs available, I think this is a solid spot for Trey Sermon to go. I think he's really underrated in a lot of aspects. He didn't get to play in the playoffs just because he got in. Well, he didn't get to play in the Alabama game because he got injured. But in the game before that against Clemson, the dude went off. In all season, he's been like that. I don't know why he hasn't gotten more attention, but he's been a very solid, powerful running back. And I think he'd fit nice with the Buccaneers. I think it works out. Then the Bills, and they took Elijah Vera Tucker in the first round. Here, I don't know if a second corner is really a big need anymore because Taron Johnson is really looking like pretty nice for them. So, being that, I think a linebacker is probably the best way to go here. And a guy that I guess a linebacker. Who took Jabril Cox? The Rams. So, looking at the linebackers here, I would have really liked Jabril Cox on the Bills. I think that's a fantastic fit. But since he's off the board, I think the next best fit in this scenario is Chaz Surratt or Surratt, a guy that really thinks like a quarterback, and I love that about a linebacker. That's what made Luke Kuechly so good. So I really like Chaz Surratt. He's raw in some aspects. I can't talk right now, Jesus. In some aspects, but he is still a really solid linebacker. Could go higher than this with a good combine, and I think he's a good pick here. Then the Packers, and the Packers to me, I just feel they got to get either a linebacker or some like tackle depth, or even a new starting right tackle, since Rick Wagner is never healthy and Billy Turner hasn't been that good. But I don't really like any of these linebackers on the Packers. I don't think they fit well. I think these guys are going to go a lot higher than this, though. Jesus, they have them so underrated. But yeah, I think they should get like a new right tackle. And I think a guy that could fit nicely at right tackle for them is Dylan Raduns. Definitely the best tackle available. If not him, I like Jackson Carman. Also Daniel Falil. But I think he's the best tackle to take at this spot. Definitely better in the run game than he is in the pass game, but still a solid pass blocker. And I think he'd probably, with some time, be better than Rick Wagner. So then with the Chiefs with the final pick of the second round, and the Chiefs here are going to go with a linebacker. I've given this guy to them before. I'm going to give him to them again. But I love Pete Werner with the Chiefs. I think it's a great fit. I think seeing him develop with Willie Gay could be really cool. I think they'd work really nicely together, and I think they're a great fit. And yeah, I like Pete Werner. I think he'd be good for this team. And now moving on to the third round, we're going to start going a little bit faster. Just to make the video not too long, because all of these videos always go over like an hour. So, starting off with the first pick of the third round, we got the Jaguars, and I think a position that they would really like to fill out here is a tight end. And did Jeremy, what's his face, Ohio State dude, I think he decided to go back. But that's not who I was going to take anyways, because I'm going to go with Brevin Jordan here. He's a really solid tight end for Miami. Great blocker, but also good hands. He has great football IQ overall. Just a really good tight end for Miami, and I think he'd be good with the Jaguars. Then the Jets, they've gone with Zach Wilson, I think it was Rondale Moore, and then Eric Stokes. And so here, looking at the running backs available, I think it's a little too high to still take any of these guys. Perhaps maybe get a nice edge player, because the pass rush hasn't been the best. Yeah, they definitely want to go with like an actual edge player, and or maybe even a linebacker. No, it's a little too high to take these guys. But looking at the edge players, if you want to go with a true edge, I think the best player in this position is going to be Joe Tryon. He's pretty underrated from Washington, in my opinion. I've come around to like him a bit more recently, but I still think he's a solid third rounder. I think he could be pretty good with some development, and I think it's a good pick here. Then the Texans with their first pick of the draft, and the Texans, I feel like they've just got to go offensive line, being that Laramie Tunsil is obviously still there. And Tyus Howard could still develop. They're going to want to go to like inside line, and if you're going to want to go here, I think the best pick would probably be Trey Smith. He can play center or guard, but regardless of where he plays, I think he's the best pick here. You just got to get if he stays, Deshaun Watson some help, because he's just getting sacked too much. But I mean, whoever they have at quarterback next year, you just got to make that offensive line better for them. Then the Falcons, they've taken it was Justin Fields, and then in the second round, the running back, I'm forgetting his name. I scrolled past him. Javonte Williams. So here, you're probably going to want to get like a linebacker or an edge player. And being that their next pick obviously isn't until the fourth round, I think it's important to get a linebacker here because I think these guys are going to go a lot higher than this. I think this is ridiculous where they have them. But looking at the guys available, the guy I like the best is definitely Charles Snowden. I think he fits best with the Falcons. They could go the other two guys for sure, but I think all three of these guys are majorly underrated. Like I said, I think this is one of the best linebacking classes I've ever seen. And Charles Snowden, I think, could be a great linebacker for them. Then at 69, we got the Bengals. And for me, looking at the corners available, Shaun Wade. Actually, that's going to be the pick. Is Shaun Wade. Because, the Bengals corner situation is interesting because William Jackson has been great. He's easily their best and only good corner, in my opinion. But he could be gone next year. And I don't know. The Bengals fans have told me about a guy named Darius Phillips who could develop. That's the key word, is could. And Trey Waynes and Mackenzie Alexander are just not good. They're fine depth, but I think Shaun Wade could be a potential number one corner of the future, if not a number two to William Jackson. I think he'd be good. I think it's the best pick here. So then the Eagles, they've gone with Asante Samuel and Jalen Waddle. And so here, I think they're going to want to go with a linebacker or safety, and I'm going to go with Javon Holland, who's kind of fallen a bit, but they would love a guy like Javon Holland, a big physical safety from Oregon. If he hadn't opted out this year, I think he would have been, or opted out, I think they just didn't play basically, but I think he would be a first rounder if they actually had played this year. I think he shows a ton of potential and upside. I do not know what's going on with my voice today. Dry throat, Jesus. But yeah, I think he would be great if they had actually played this year. And I still think he will be great in the NFL. I think it's a steal for the Eagles. Then the Lions. And the Lions are probably going to want to go linebacker here. Just because they need help on the defense. And they would love a guy like Baron Browning. Another big physical linebacker from Ohio State. I like Snowden better than Browning. However, I think Browning's also still very good. He's been overshadowed by Pete Werner a bit. However, again, Browning's still a very solid linebacker, and I think he could be good in the NFL. Then the Panthers at 72, and they have gone Trey Lance and Dylan Moses. And so here, maybe they'd like to get some corner help, and I suppose Elijah Molden could go here. I am also still a fan of Kerry Vincent, and people have kind of brought my attention to Rodarius Williams. He's also pretty solid. They could also go a tackle here, and that's going to be the pick here for me. And it's going to be Jackson Carman. He could play left or right tackle. I see him as more of a right tackle, but you guys could be losing Taylor Moton. I thought it was Morton for the longest time, but it's Moton, I guess. But he's still a very solid tackle from Clemson. Definitely the best tackle available at this spot. I think it's a good pick here. Then the Broncos at 73. And the Broncos here, there's different positions they can go. They might go with a tackle for some tackle depth. There's some great defensive linemen on the board. There's some good safeties on the board. There's some good corners on the board and not that good of a corner class. So, there's many different positions that go here. I think you can get one of these two guys like in the fourth round, though, for good value. Again, there's a lot of safeties you can get later in the draft. They would love a guy like Monty Rice, but they took Micah Parsons in the first round. So being with all that, I think defensive line, like a defensive tackle or something, is the best way to go. And who did they take in the second round? Jalen Phillips. So they already went defensive line, though, however, because Jalen Phillips is definitely a defensive lineman. So actually with that, I think the best situation for them, I don't really like either of these corners to them. Safety is definitely a pick here, and so is tackle. I think safety is going to be the pick here, actually. And I think a guy like Paris Ford would be very great on that defense. I think he would be the perfect replacement for Kareem Jackson when that time comes, if Will Parks doesn't kind of step into that role, which I think he could. But if he doesn't, I think Paris Ford could, and he's been very solid for Pittsburgh. He's a very strong physical safety, so I like the fit here. Then the Cowboys at 74, and the Cowboys, they went with Patrick Surtain, and then the second round took Jason Oweh. So they already went defensive line. However, they still don't have that true tackle that they really need. They also need a tight end. I've had some Cowboys fans get mad at me because they like Dalton Schultz and Blake Jarwin. I don't. But just being some of the defensive linemen here, I think any of these top three guys would be awesome for the Cowboys. And I've given Marvin Wilson to them a lot, but I think third round is a little too high for him at this point. So I think Darius Stills would be great for the Cowboys. I think he's majorly underrated. Can go a lot higher than this, but he's a very nice physical tackle from West Virginia, though. I really like him, and I think he's a good fit for the Cowboys. Then the Giants. And the Giants are probably going to want to go with a linebacker or a corner here. And I think Monty Rice would be a really nice linebacker, but I just don't know if he fits. And again, they need corners pretty badly and not the best corner class. And out of these two guys, I think Elijah Molden is the best fit for them. Again, another guy from Washington that I think is kind of underrated. Could go higher than this. Obviously, I have him higher than the rankings, but I still think he's pretty solid. I think he's a good corner, and I think he can work. Then the Washington football team, and they could go safety here, and there's some really nice safeties on the board, obviously. They could also go linemen. I don't think tackles as big a need as inside offensive linemen, and I like Deontay Brown. I think he'd fit really nicely. But they don't really have a safety. Their best safety is Landon Collins, and he's getting pretty old. So a guy that I do really like on the Washington football team is Richie Grant. I think he fits really nice. He's been really, really solid for UCF. Not the most physical guy, but I don't think it's a big issue, and I like him on Washington. Chargers, they've gone edge, outside linebacker, more specifically, and tackle so far. And Deontay Brown would be a great guard to play either left or right guard for you guys, and fill out another position on that offensive line. This team is going to be so scary next year. They're going to be really scary. And Deontay Brown, I think, can be a really solid guard for you guys from Alabama. Really could play center too. Then the Vikings, and the Vikings, they can go safety or offensive line, but I think safety is the better pick to go with right now. And Mike Zimmer's still going to be there. He's still going to be coach. And a guy I think Mike Zimmer would love to have on his team is Hamsah Nasirildeen. Super versatile safety. He's been really solid for Florida State. Could go a lot. Again, another guy that could go a lot higher. Again, he's just so versatile. Really could play linebacker even if he gains some weight. Even corner. So I think he works. He's a Mike Zimmer dream. So I think it's a good pick here. And then moving on to the Cardinals with the 79th pick. And the Cardinals here, this is the position where you're probably going to want to go running back. And a guy I really like and I think would fit really nice with the Cardinals is Michael Carter. He's been the other side of that two-headed monster for them this year. Obviously, the other one being Javonte Williams. He's just a nice, pretty speedy guy because Javonte Williams brings more of the power where Carter brings the speed. I like the fit, and even if Kenyon Drake somehow stays with the Cardinals, I think he could be a nice backup, and I think it's a good fit. Then with the Raiders at 80, and the Raiders here are probably going to want to go with the safety, and a safety that I think really fits really nicely with the Raiders is Richard LeCounte. He's one of the few, not physical guys on Georgia, but rather more just of a speedy and lengthy guy. Again, he's just been very nice for Georgia, but most of their guys are, the powerful dudes. Think Ojulari, Eric Stokes. But Richard LeCounte, though, he's just more of a lengthy, tall, speedy guy. I think that fits nice with the Raiders here. Then the Dolphins at 81. And the Dolphins, I think here are probably going to want to go either defense, like a pass rush, or an offensive lineman. And looking at the guys available, there's a nice center here in Josh Myers, Ted Karras. I think he's in his early 30s or mid 30s, so he's kind of getting up there in age. So you could definitely go with Josh Myers here. I think that's probably the pick he would go. There's also some nice edge rushers on the board. I think Tyler Shelvin would be a fantastic fit with the Dolphins, but we are going to end up going with Josh Myers here. Now, I think Josh Myers projects better as a guard in the NFL, just being that he has issues actually snapping the ball, even though he's a center. That's a big reason why Justin Fields has issues a lot, especially back there in the pocket. The offensive line itself is good, but it's just the center has issues snapping, so then Justin Fields is off rhythm. So, that's just a bit of an issue there. So again, I think he projects better as a guard, but they need a center, and he's definitely the best center at this point. Again, Ted Karras is getting older, so. Then the Washington football team, they've gone Mac Jones, I think Richie Grant, and then in the second round, Amon-Ra St. Brown. So here, I think, what are the corners on the board looking like? I think Israel Mukumu fits nicely with them. I wouldn't argue against Kerry Vincent here. But I think offensive line is the best pick to go here. It's still not the best. And a guy I think would fit really nicely across from Brandon Sheriff is Ben Cleveland. I've always been pretty high on this guy. I've never had him drop out of the third round, even though he very well could, just because there's so much upside to the guy. Another strong physical player for Georgia. I think he fits nicely, and I think he would work out great at left guard across from Brandon Sheriff. Then the Bears, and they've taken Rashawn Slater, and then earlier Rashad Bateman. Not Rashad Bateman. Rondale Moore. So here for the Bears, they could go offensive line again, and that's probably the best pick for them. They want to go inside offensive lineman since they took Rashawn Slater, obviously. And the best guy at this point is definitely Drake Jackson, but it's a little too high for him. I don't really know if any of these guys are really third rounders. There are some decent tackles on the board. I mean, heck, like I said earlier, they could realistically cut both tackles. So if they do, then they're still going to need another tackle. Even if they don't cut both, it'd be nice to have some depth. And there are still some very good tackles on the board. You have our top 5 guys here, but then also very lowly rated. Cole Van Lennon is a very good tackle from Wisconsin. So all these guys could realistically go in the third round. If you're going to take one here, though, I think out of these, I like Daniel Faalele the best, though. Again, I think he projects better as a right tackle, but can play left tackle. And I think even if he's depth, he's great depth for the Bears. So then the Colts, and the Colts are definitely going to want to go with a receiver here. And, Nico Collins, it's between Nico Collins or Dynami Brown. Elijah Moore's good. I just don't think he fits well with the Colts. They want more of the speedy type of guy. And I suppose in this situation, these guys are both kind of speedy. Now, obviously, Daz Newsome is the speediest receiver available at this point, but he's more of a fourth rounder for me. So between these two guys, Nico Collins, although I don't like him, is definitely better than Dynami Brown. So I'm going to go with Nico Collins here. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't know. He kind of gives up on plays a lot. Obviously, you never like that, but he is still the best receiver available at this point, and you guys got to get one. So then the Titans, and the Titans are probably going to want to go with a lineman or a wide receiver here. Now, they have some nice wide receivers. I mean, A.J. Brown looks great, obviously. Corey Davis finally showed that he may be worth that first-round pick, and Adam Humphries was good when healthy. So I don't see the need for wide receiver unless one of those guys is on a contract year, which I'm not aware of. But they could use a nice tackle because even though they extended Dennis Kelly, I still don't think he's a good tackle. And Isaiah Wilson was just easily the worst pick of the first round. I mean, the dude, I don't even know if he ever got on the field for one snap. He just has so many off the field issues that aren't going away. So if you're going to take a guy here this late, if you're going for more of a right tackle, since you have Taylor Lewan at left tackle, it's between Tevin Jenkins or Cole Van Lennon for me. And I like Tevin Jenkins better. I think Cole Van Lennon probably has a higher floor, but Tevin Jenkins is easily way more just NFL ready. Because if you're drafting a guy here, it's probably so he can start for you. And I think Tevin Jenkins is the most NFL ready guy here, and it's the best pick for the Titans. Then the Jets at 86, and the Jets are probably going to want to go with a running back or a linebacker. I don't think Monty Rice really fits with the Jets that well. Looking at the running backs available, I mean, apparently it's Chuba Hubbard. I've been calling him Chuba Hubbard. I would like the fit here. I also think that Puka Williams would be a nice fit with them. Kenneth Gainwell could work out as well. And then looking at the tight ends available, because they don't really have a tight end. I like Hunter Long, but I don't know. He's kind of been slipping for me as of late. I used to have him pretty high. Just looking at the guys available in the picks already, I think running back's going to be the best pick here. And out of all the guys available, you already have Frank Gore, so you kind of have that workhorse running back, which is why I'm going to go with Kenneth Gainwell here. He's not nearly as much as like the workhorse that Frank Gore is, so I think he's the nice partner to him, and I think he shows a high upside in the NFL. He's pretty fast, has some good athleticism, so I think it's a decent pick. Steelers are probably going to want to go not quarterback here. I mean, maybe Jamie Newman can go in the third round, but I see all these guys at best fourth rounders. You're probably going to want to go with offensive line again, honestly. And just they already took a tackle. I think that was Liam Eichenberg, was it? Yeah, Liam Eichenberg. So he was a great tackle, but they can still take another one here, I suppose. They kind of need a corner, but not really. I think the best pick would probably be a defensive lineman here. And I've mocked him here before, but he's going to go again. I think Tyler Shelvin is a great fit with the Steelers. He's not necessarily much as that power guy. Is he more just the finesser? He's got a great swim move. I think that works, though. And even if it's just depth, it's good depth. I can see the argument for a tackle here. It's just I feel inside line is more what they need. And there's not any of those guys really left to take at this spot in the draft, so... Then the Rams. Rams are a team that definitely can go tackle here again because Andrew Whitworth is so old. But there's also a guy here two guys actually, in Jalen Twyman and Alim McNeil that I really like on the Rams. I think they fit perfect. And, between Spencer Brown and Walker Little, I like Spencer Brown more as a tackle, but I really see him as more of a right tackle. He can play left tackle, but I don't know. I don't like taking a guy like just in case Whitworth retires. And in this case, when you have a guy like Alim McNeil on the board, I just feel like you got to go with him. McNeil is such a great player. And again, he's just a player that I think would be perfect in the Rams defense, would be fantastic depth to the defensive line. And I think he's really good. Then the Browns, and the Browns are another team that's going to go with a defensive lineman or an edge player here. If you're going to go with an edge, I feel like Shaka Toney or Patrick Johnson, or where is he? Where is he? Where'd he go? He was just here. The other dude from Pittsburgh, Rashad Weaver. There he is. I couldn't find him for some reason. If it's going to be one of those guys, or if you look at the defense, Jalen Twyman would be nice. Haskell Garrett. Where's Haskell Garrett? Oh, did he come back? Oh, I think Haskell Garrett came back, I guess, for another year. So he's not on the board. Levi, I can't say his name. Onwuzurike is also not bad, but I don't really like those guys. If it's going to be a player here, it's going to be edge. And anyone who watches me knows how I feel about Patrick Jones compared to Rashad Weaver. Weaver is just so much better in so many ways. Maybe he's not as NFL ready as Patrick Jones, but the Browns don't need an NFL ready guy. They can pick a guy here that's going to develop and play good for them in the future. So then the Vikings here, and the Vikings I think should go corner here. They could use some nice corner depth. And a guy that I've given to the Vikings before, I think he's really nice with them, is Kerry Vincent. Again, he's another player that I think just fits well with their scheme. I really like him from LSU, and I think he, fits well. Then the Browns with the last pick of this draft for them. And here we're going to go with defensive linemen, and we're going to take Jalen Twyman. Jalen Twyman may be a bit of a reach, but he's another player that, obviously he's played with Rashad Weaver, played in Pittsburgh. Yes, I'm taking these two over Patrick Jones. But, I just think Jalen Twyman, again, he's another underrated guy from Pittsburgh. In the future can be a very good player for them. And, again, they can afford to have that developmental type project. Then the Buccaneers, and the Buccaneers, for me, it's either going to be Spencer Brown or Walker Little to replace Donovan Smith since he's getting older. And between the two guys, I already expressed how I think Walker Little is a better left tackle. That's what they need. So we're going to go with Walker Little here. Another guy that's a developmental project. However, just again, with the fact that how good this team is, basically all they've taken is developmental projects because that's really all they need. They're just so talented. I can see maybe Jamie Newman here, if they want to get a quarterback to develop behind Tom Brady, but, you know, I just think it's the best pick here. So then the Bills, they're going to get some nice tackle depth here with Spencer Brown. He's not, like Darrell Williams played fantastic this year, and same with Deion Dawkins. But, even if it's just tackle depth, he's really nice tackle depth. And the dude could really switch to guard if he wanted to. But he's going to be better at tackle. But I just think with the team so good, not many holes, you're just going for depth and development at this point. So then the Packers. And the Packers here are going to get a really, really nice linebacker in Monty Rice, who should be a lot higher than 119 on the rankings. But this dude is a really, really good linebacker. Smaller guy, but he's super fast and super athletic for his size. He's one of my favorite prospects in this draft. With some development, could be a fantastic linebacker for the Packers. Then the Chiefs. And we're going to get some, they could go with an edge player here. Because I've expressed before how, Frank Clark is kind of a faker, and they don't really have anyone else over there. But there's not really any good guys to take here. Maybe Shaka Toney. But they also need some offensive line help. Even if it's just developmental projects, because, that's what a lot of teams are taking at this point. And there's two nice tackles on the board, in Brady Christensen and Cole Van Lennon. Brady Christensen has been fantastic for BYU this year. Another guy that really hasn't got the attention he deserves. And Cole Van Lennon is just overall such an underrated prospect in this draft. And just being that, Shaka Toney's great. I don't know if he should go in the third round, though. I'm going to have him take a tackle here. And I'm going to go with Brady Christensen. Again, the dude's just been so underrated this year. Like, he's been fantastic. The big reason why Zach Wilson's had the time this year that he's had. He's been fantastic, so... Then the Patriots. And the Patriots here are going to go with a receiver because they need one pretty badly. And there are different guys they can go with here. But the best one on the board is definitely Elijah Moore. He's a bit of a taller, lengthy guy. And so maybe they like to get a speedy guy. Daz Newsome's there, of course. But I like Elijah Moore the best here. I think he's pretty solid for Ole Miss. So... Then the Chargers at 97, and the Chargers here are probably going to go with a corner, a receiver, or a linebacker. No linebackers to take really at this point. I think Rodarius Williams would fit really nicely with the Chargers, actually. And that's going to be the pick, actually. I really hadn't paid much attention to him before, but some people in the comments brought him up to me, and I looked at him, and he's actually a really nice corner. I like him. With a good combine, he could be a second rounder. Maybe a bit of a developmental project, but, just being with the Chargers, Chris Harris is, he's getting up there in age, and once he's gone, you've only got Casey Hayward. So I think Rodarius Williams would be a great developmental guy. He's got some chemistry there with Kenneth Murray too. So then the Saints, and the Saints are probably going to want to get a receiver here, just being that they have Michael Thomas, obviously, but then Emmanuel Sanders is actually a likely cut player to save some cap space because the Saints are just in a horrible cap situation. And so looking at the receivers available, out of all these guys, the best player is definitely Dyami Brown. He's another guy that really I hadn't paid much attention to until recently, and his tape actually shows some good stuff. He's got some issues, obviously, which is why he's down here, but with some time and development, could become another good player. That's what a lot of these players are at this point. Then the Cowboys, and this is a really easy pick for me because I'd given this guy to them a lot, but I'm going to give him to him late third round. I would love to take Hunter Long here, but it's just, I don't know. Marvin Wilson shows a lot of promise. Now, obviously, he's had a horrible year, which is why he's dropped this far, but last year he was really, really good. There is a talent hidden somewhere there. And I think with the players they've already taken, this is a guy that you can afford to take a bet on. And while the risk is there, obviously, it's a late third round pick. This guy has the potential to be a fantastic tackle. So it's a risk worth taking, I think. Then the Rams at 100. And the Rams should probably get that replacement tackle now. And that's why I like a guy like Cole Van Lennon. Again, just another guy that's super underrated. Should be a lot higher than this. Could go a lot higher than this. Really could fall to the 5th or 6th round though, because some teams aren't that high on him. But I think he could be a great replacement to Andrew Whitworth. I think he can be a starter level guy. So then the Titans at 101, and the Titans, we're gonna get him some speed, and that's gonna be in Dazz Newsome. Now, Dazz Newsome is interesting, right? Because he he's the fastest guy in the class. There's no argument for that. Like, he is the fastest guy in the class. The problem with him is that if he gets bumped at the start of a play, he really doesn't try the rest of the play. Like, if he's never bumped, he'll go fast the entire thing and make a big play for you. He's got good to decent to good hands. But again, it's just that issue of like, he just doesn't have that mental aspect of the game of like, keep trying. If the ball's not in his hands by the end of his route, or he gets bumped, he just doesn't try. But if he fixes that, this guy can be like fantastic in the NFL. Then the 49ers, and the Niners here, we're going to go with a safety, because they have some good corners, but they don't really have a safety. And a guy that I'm not letting fall to the 4th round is Andre Cisco. He's been great for Syracuse, another guy that deserves some more attention than he gets. But I'm not having him fall to the 4th round. This is way too good a value for the 49ers to pass up, and I think it's a good pick. Then the Rams with their last pick of the draft. And here we're going to get the Rams a nice edge player, like a 3-4 outside linebacker guy. And of course, there's none on the board. Maybe Patrick Johnson, but it's way too high for him. So there's no guys like that really available to take at this spot in the draft. So if you're going to go anywhere here, I guess you can go with another corner. But I don't really think Israel Mukumu fits with you guys. But heck, I mean, he's the last good corner in the class. Like, he's a very tall, big, lengthy corner, and because of that, he is in no way the fastest guy. But, I think he can fit nicely, though, because you already have Jalen Ramsey and his very underrated partner, Darius Williams, who, if not for Jalen Ramsey, Darius Williams would be recognized as, like, one of the best corners in football. So, why not get, like, a tall, lengthy dude that can play the slot pretty well for his size, honestly. And I think it's a good pick here. And with the last pick of our draft, we have the Saints. And being that a lot of their decent to good corners and safeties could be cut and or retire, I'm going to have them a safety here. And so if you're going to look at some of the guys really quick, that's going to fall. It's kind of crazy. Patrick Jones, I can't say his name, but there's a good amount of people here that are falling to the 4th round that maybe shouldn't. But pick here is going to be Ardarius Washington, also James Wiggins and Tyrese Gibbs. Why are they this low? They could go in the 3rd round, but they're going to fall to the 4th round here. Ardarius Washington has been really good for TCU. He's been kind of overshadowed by Trevon Moehrig. Now, he has some aspects of his game. Again, he just kind of stops trying after a little bit, which is not the best thing. But this is another case scenario where he's a bit more of a developmental project and just kind of the product of players getting cut and stuff. So I think Ardarius Washington is the best pick here. And that finishes our draft. And that's the 2nd and 3rd rounds of our 5th official mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you for watching. If you liked the video, give it a like, comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. New videos coming out every week. Got my first trade mock draft next week, so that'd be cool. A lot more content than just mock drafts going to be coming out, past the Super Bowl, and then once that comes, I can't wait. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. By the way, let me know down below what's your picks for this week. I got the Chiefs beating the Bills and the Buccaneers beating the Packers. 2 upsets, perhaps. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see all you guys next week. Bye-bye.